Now, who wants to have a conversation about mobile marketing? I do. It's Phelan and I today. So, Pip, Seymour Digital Media. Phelan, what? Fuzz Marketing? Phelan, Seymour Digital Media. What's going on there? Yeah?
It's still the same. Yeah, Seymour Digital Media. Yeah.
Look, and I've dressed up a little because we're going to a good meeting after this with one of our best clients. So I'm very excited. But in between then and now, we're talking mobile marketing. Sorry about the hiccups. And the hiccups with the live, we figured it out. It's because I was testing Zoom yesterday with Ecamm, and I'm almost perfect, Phelan. Like our names are so close to being like even. But let's get into the mobile marketing. I got a whole list of things we want to talk about. Um, so Phelan is a stand-in for Greg because Greg got caught in traffic, I think, and so we didn't want him on his phone driving. We were trying to be all cool.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't want to. You don't want to do a live while you're sitting in your car. That's
You
not preferred.
No, especially without air conditioner right now in BC, right? Right.
Hmm.
So I've got my handy dandy notes up, and because we do search engine marketing, and Greg does websites and Phelan does websites, we have a lot to say on the mobile first issue. So Phelan, maybe we can look at this like a standpoint. You have the standpoint of like the SEO, and I'll do Google Ads, or we'll just switch back and forth. I have a number of things I want to get to, like Google with its mobile first indexing, and
Hmm.
so I want to talk about ads and SEO. You're going to do more, I guess, of the knowing the website stuff, because I have an issue sometimes when I go and I make an image and say the image has text in it, right?
Hmm.
Which is, something I might have because we do SEO and I like numbers. Um, when I
Yeah.
go and add that to a blog post, a lot of the time, like if I don't check it on a mobile phone, it looks like crap. If then, 2 weeks later, I go look at it on a mobile phone. So, is there an easy way as a user that someone can make sure it's a mobile first when I'm adding stuff to my website?
Yeah. So most like Shopify, WordPress, they now have like a preview button in the top right hand corner. So you usually see it set up by default in desktop mode. And so you could easily switch to mobile and kind of see how the spacing works with like your images and make sure to like your cutoff points. Like you generally want to have like if you got a big landscape picture that you have all the important stuff in the center so that if the other stuff gets cut off that it still has like it's that's kind of the rule of thumb that I would go with.
Mm-hmm.
You can, Shopify makes multiple copies of your images, like 26 different copies. And so it'll insert the one that's correct, but they'll still do cutoffs and stuff like that as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah. Nowadays, it's a lot of these website builders have a default like, hey, do you want to see this in mobile? And then you could just easily switch over and so you can get a really good feel for it without even having to whip out your phone.
Mm-hmm. And why do we want to think mobile first?
Well, like you said at the top, if you're doing SEO, you want to be looking at making sure it's optimized for people on their phones. You'll go through the analytics. I mean, I haven't seen a website. I think there's like been one or two that are very B2B, but most of the time, if you have any sort of like end user or you're bringing in like lots of traffic, you're going to get at least 50% of it's going to be mobile.
Mm-hmm. At least, right? And we're seeing. So I think it's a new, really smart strategy to focus on mobile, um, because most people have their phone in their pocket. Most people go from their phone to the computer. How many people have their phone sitting right by them, right? And phones convert better as well. Uh,
Yeah, I would also say that there's an unintentional side effect of focusing on mobile first, which is that phones aren't as powerful as desktops. So if you're optimized for a phone, you've already by default optimized for a desktop because like the speed and loading issues that are going to be ranking factors and user experience, and that also goes to the ads because it counts as landing page experience. So all these things, if you optimize for mobile, you're unintentionally optimizing for the whole website overall because you have to do all these extra things to kind of make it run very efficiently. which is a good thing. We want that. Like, you want the end user to have a fast loading even on mobile website.
It is true, right? Like, and I mean, we see it. Like, if that's such a good fact. So, if everybody, actually, we should drop the like everybody probably knows, but the speed test from Google. That's where you go,
Yeah.
right? And you test it. It'll give you the desktop, I think, back first, which is really funny because if you actually optimize for the mobile and get that solid and out of the way, and this is where we see most problems, right? Is the loading of websites and the load, even in Google Ads. Well, stop doing your Google Ads. Your pages don't load, right? Because
Yeah.
you're just wasting money. So it will give you the competitive advantage to think mobile first. And we're not talking today about like, hey, shoot people a text for advertising. I'm not the biggest fan of
Yeah.
that. I don't like even getting reminders for text. Text is like, I don't know. I just keep it a little less dingy. It's
Yeah.
always dinging, right? So we're not talking about that today. We're talking about how to convert traffic and why mobile matters, and how, if you want to win with your marketing, how you should be thinking about it from a search perspective, of course, right? I think it's pretty searchy.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that it's definitely worth it to think about it, as well as like your conversion rate optimization stuff. So once they're on the page, that you have things ordered in the right way. Because like in desktop, you can kind of let yourself get too busy, like too smart by half, and then make it too busy. Whereas mobile is, you've got to be pretty clear and get people through. They land on a page on their phone. You want to get them from point A to conversion as
Yeah.
quick as you can. And so making sure that you've optimized for that as well will be beneficial for you in the long run of how to optimize your website and get it to convert.
Well, especially if you have like automatic things set up in your phone, you're just, or like, or a human has their automatic thing set up on their phone, right? Because you can instantly fill things in. Some people can instantly pay for things. Like
Hmm.
it just helps from every angle, and from a perspective where, if you're, so I think speed is the most important. That's what we'll
Yeah.
say, I think. And from a Google Ads perspective and a conversion rate optimization perspective, phones convert better and more people have them. Lots of people don't have computers. Like older people might have iPads. It's all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then there's mobile first content, like, so shorter paragraphs, more bullet points, clear headings. So the same thing as SEO,
Yeah.
right? Like that you want on your page. So and then many mobile searches, this is local SEO, right? Have local intent. So if you're a local business, I would definitely be focusing on this, right? And checking everything. Like every time you update your website, check it on a phone. And we all forget. Like who doesn't forget? I mean, it's funny because we do check it now all the time, but I don't think, even with clients, it's something that I think we need to train ourselves to do more and more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say as well to to look at it on multiple devices. You can inspect element, and then kind of it will let
Play
you
with it. Yeah.
cycle through different types of devices to kind of see how they all interact.
Ooh, one
Yeah.
day we'll be able to show people that, because I'm working on my Skittles with video, right? Because I can be like, I'm talking now. And then I could be like, oh, I'm talking again.
uh yeah, let's
We're
not.
back. We're back. Sorry. Got excited there. Got excited about showing my skills. But where were we? We were talking about mobile. And what were you just saying, Phelan? I'm so sorry.
uh yeah, so I was saying that with yeah, now I've actually lost my train
That's
of thought
okay.
there.
I
But
got, yeah. We were
oh, we
talking
were
about,
talking about inspecting element, and so that's another way that you can kind of test. It's a little more advanced as a feature, but generally, 9 times out of 10, if you just use one of those preview mobile, it still is worth it to check on a phone, because sometimes how the preview on mobile renders versus how your phone actually renders it, not always identical. So it is still
mhm,
good to have a backup to check those just in case, because they do render sometimes a little weird with like mobile browsers and stuff like that.
mhm.
They're not a perfect, what your desktop is trying to imitate is not always a perfect reflection of what's
It's
actually in
true.
the
You
real
want
world.
to check your phones, your friends' phones,
Hmm.
other people's phones. Phelan and I both have different phones. We work together, and so we can see differences. That was on purpose. Um, but it is interesting because no matter what you do, it might be off somewhere, but if you're optimizing for it, um, then it'll work out better. There's say like mobile specific errors on, like say Google Search Console failing. We're gonna see things like um, blocked JavaScript, is that right? And CSS issues, right? Image files. And so those things, if we optimize for those, um, I think it'll make our phones better. No, you know this, but I like block JavaScript. You got to explain that a
Yeah.
little more.
So yeah, what happens is so JavaScript, which is like how you interact with it. You click a button, the button does something. That's all done through JavaScript.
Mhm.
Uh, the images is the other one. So images, yeah, we've talked about that. You want to have them optimized, but for the JavaScript, one of the big ones is that I've noticed is Chrome will just straight up like not render something because it's like, yeah, that was a lot of work and we don't have enough bandwidth, so we're just not going to render stuff. Which is
What does that mean?
it means like, oh, this function was going to take up too much compute power, we're just not going to run that function.
Hmm.
And so that's why when I talked about at the top of like optimizing for mobile and like getting a lot of that heavy work and making sure you don't have like extra plugins that are just bloating your website, you don't have extra code on there. That's again, the page speed insights will tell you a lot of that. It'll say,
People look at those, but people look at the page speed insights. So, and they look at it, and honestly, it's pretty overwhelming. It starts with the first paint and the second paint, and people don't even know what paint is. So
yeah,
it's hard.
for
It's hard for a regular user.
yeah, it is. It is something that's going to be a little more technical, especially in fixing the issues. It's not as simple as like resizing an image, and it's just like you resize it and you're done. This is a little more complicated, but it's well worth it again because the faster you speed up your phone for mobile, it helps across the board, right? Because your desktop's also going to get those improvements.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so I
Yeah,
think that that's
I
good.
think that's a huge win right there in and of itself. I mean, we can close the podcast now. We've done it all, said all the things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
fair.
right, but I think I also learned some information about email opens. So, it's more likely that people will read email newsletters on their phone. Well, I don't read email newsletters often. So, well, I'm on my desktop a lot, and yeah, but I am going to start, like, I think we're going to be implementing this strategy ourselves, right? Because I mean, not only do more people have phones than have computers, right? But if we focus on mobile first for all that we're doing, we know it converts better on ads, which means
Mhm.
overall, if you do mobile first, I bet you'll convert better, right?
Yeah, yeah,
In
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, we should test that. You can see in Google Search Console, mobile devices and what's going on there. You can do page speed test. You can look in Google Analytics, and you can separate out your traffic. You would segment it, right, Phelan, to look at mobile and look at the comparison.
Yeah, well, in the new system, the way they've laid it out, it used to be that you go to a tech tab, but now what you would do is I would go to reports and then acquisition and then traffic acquisition, and so that shows you the traffic, and then just above there's a plus icon in the just above the names of each of the different platforms, so you can put a secondary filter, and that filter can have tech.
Mm,
So you can do
interesting.
like, I've got, for my Google organic traffic, I've got 60% desktop and 40% mobile. You
Mm.
can start to see that and see it by the different channels, and then see how you want to be optimizing for each channel, or maybe there's one that's bringing you a lot more mobile traffic that you weren't anticipating.
Right. So this is where the data-driven insights really do help and affect everything we do, right? And I
Yeah.
mean, I think I mean, when you get right into the nitty-gritty of optimizing things for Google Ads or SEO, you're in there looking at this type of data, right? You're cross comparing. And I mean, there are
Mhm.
so many industries and so many businesses that have done marketing that we can learn from what they've done. So finding industry specific things like what converts better for, say, coaches, like, and do
Yeah.
mobile convert better? Like, I know people test longer and shorter form. Everything's a test, but when you get to like go and try to optimize for this specific thing, and if it could, the knockdown effects that can help it, like if you optimize for mobile, technically I think you're also kind of optimizing for voice, right?
I mean, there's going to be a lot of the best practices that'll make it easy for all those
Sorry
systems.
about
Okay.
that. It's pressing buttons.
Uh,
Say that again.
okay. I was going to say that because going back to your earlier point of like you're talking about semantic HTML, basically laying it out in a structure that's easy for systems to read it and then and digest the information. And so that's going to be good for crawlers, whether it's like voice content or um, pretty much anyone. The easier you make it to read and to analyze, the easier it's going to be for someone else to share that information, because that's just kind of the way these crawlers work.
Right. And I mean, when you look inside like Google Analytics, can you see, can you look at like a phone and then the pages they land on, can you do the whole path? Can you look at the whole path
uh
and segment that way?
Not anymore. That's one of the reports that people were really hoping was going to get brought over, but it wasn't. um
But wasn't Google Analytics 4 originally created so that we could analyze and measure the way we want to measure on mobile devices? Wasn't that the whole reason?
well, it was designed for apps, and so the apps would have specific events of like login screen reached, payment screen reached.
Okay.
Like it would have it as the event would be the page that they make it to.
Okay. Oh, okay. And so, I mean, so you'd think it'd be all mobile first and they'd give us as much data as possible. Who am I kidding? They try not to tell us some things, right? So,
Yeah, it's one of the more annoying reports that they didn't create, was like each step, so you could see if like maybe there's a drop off. Like, so you do landing pages to completion, what are the pages that they see along the journey? They don't really tell you that information. I mean, if someone does know of how to get that report, then feel free to let me know in the comments. But I haven't found it. Um,
right. Well, new things show up there every day.
yeah,
You know,
this is also true. Yeah,
so which is kind of exciting. And I mean, so though, I mean, the whole thing with Google Ads is that we want to, and with SEO, is we want to help people make purchases faster or get the information they're looking for faster, right? And if they're on their phone, and yeah, we're gonna have such an easier time of it. The thing is,
yeah,
it is hard to optimize for a phone because it is hard to speed up your website, right? It is a lot of technical stuff that the regular Joe can't do, and not like you have to be a technical SEO to keep plugging away at it. And there's some things in there that aren't great, like the number goes up and down.
yeah. Well, and also
The
that
testing, yeah.
in this current age, there's actually a lot more resources for how to do stuff. So, like, I just helped out someone else yesterday that we're consulting with, and they were asking, "How do I speed up the website for mobile on Squarespace?" And sure enough, I typed it in, and they had a help doc on going through. Here's a list of things you can do for Squarespace that will help
uh,
you speed up your website, and they were all reasonably easy things
Easy.
for anyone. Yeah, they were simple things to get done.
Hmm.
Um, I wouldn't say that they were yeah, they weren't revolutionary. It wasn't like you were having to write JavaScript or anything like that. It was more kind of all the things we've been talking about, as well as some setting things that you wanted to have checked off in certain ways. And so,
Hmm.
but that tells you that like Wix and Squarespace and Shopify, they all have like ways that you can speed up their websites,
And
even
you
though
got to
you're not in
play
full
by their
control.
rules, right? Like, so here's the thing. I mean, you get a Shopify site or a Wix site or a Squarespace site, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about images. and you just upload images, but they actually have image size recommendation, even though they size them down for you. But a lot
Yeah.
of people go over that anyway, right? So we spend a lot of time fixing the weight of images,
Yeah.
right?
I
To
mean, there's
speed
still
things up.
that it's still a function of limitation on the speed of light, right? Like at the end of the day, the website's load is determined by how much like bits can go through the internet, and like the more you could do to reduce those bits that are going through, the better it's going to be, especially for
Mm.
mobile phones that are, you're on a 2G network for a little bit because you just happen to be shifting between two towers, and so you got to be thinking in all those different use cases as well.
Mm.
uh,
Yeah, we did have the experience a few days ago of one of our team members downloading Screaming Frog, and the next day it was very strange because they said to us basically, "Oh my god, it's taken a day," and I was like, "Well, that's weird," and that's when I call you in, Phelan, and and that's when we checked it was the speed of their internet connection that was the
yeah,
main issue. So that was
yeah,
pretty interesting to pay attention to, right? Because you could get pretty frustrated as a user, and that's one thing to check. So I mean, it's all connected,
yeah.
right?
I would say one last thing as well that I didn't get to touch on.
No,
There's actually two page speed tests. So there's one that if you go to
page speed in,
pagespeed.web.dev,
yeah.
which is the page speed insights. Also, in your browser, you can also do a page speed test. So it localizes it to your internet connection connecting to their website. So it's not
Oh,
like this like. So what you do is you go to the developer tools, and it's the last option on your Chrome. It's called
wait,
Lighthouse.
wait. So how we get to the developer tools is go to our website or go to our computer and right click, right?
That or the other one is to open up.
So we're
It's
getting,
a
we
view
want to inspect, right? Inspect, right click
develop.
on your computer and then
Yeah,
inspect, and that takes you to the developer tools. Is that correct?
yeah.
Okay. Or can you just right click on your computer and then go to, no, you can't just go to developer tools. Damn. So
No,
inspect.
the second way is you go in in your browser menu along the very top where it says Chrome File Edit View. You go to View, then Developer, and then Developer Tools. That's another way.
Developer. Okay. Developer. Yes. And then developer tools. Oh, bam. Look at that sunshine. So those are
Yeah,
two great ways to get there. And it might look like a lot of gobbledygook, but it is very interesting because this is how you find out what website somebody's on. Or we have this in our spying on on our competition class, which is
hmm,
I don't think that's part of the free section of our course. Um, so yeah, it's part of the paid course, but you can learn how to do this very easily, right?
yeah. But yeah, once you're in there, you'll see something that says Elements Console, and then there'll be a bunch of options like Network. But the very last one says Lighthouse, and then you can just run it from there.
I have Lighthouse, Recorder, and then Performance Insights. So Lighthouse, and then yes, and then analyze low page load. Nice. Oh, it turns it into kind of a phone. Isn't that interesting? So is
Yeah.
this what you do, Failing? Because I haven't done this. This is exciting.
I do it if there's like a big discrepancy from what I'm seeing to what PageSpeed Insights is seeing. Then I'll
Mm.
bust out this tool as well. But that being said, we have to go.
We do. Hard out at 11:30. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so sorry we were a little bit late. That was me connecting Zoom and Ecamm for trying new things. We will be here next week on Thursday at 11 Pacific. If you want to join us live and ask your questions, we pay attention to our Facebook group, Cyberpunk Geeks Marketing Mixer, and YouTube and LinkedIn. So we'll be here next Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, talking about dun dun dun. Do you know what we're talking about, Phelan?
You and Rena are talking about Google Ads.
Ah, yes. All about Google Ads. I think that's because of our upcoming class. Anyway, we will see you
Hmm.
next week. Lovely to see y'all here today, and we'll chat soon. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.